So maybe leading out your strongest climber. Well, our strongest climber.
For the
And
last
then-
climb, you mean, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm still there, I'm quite happy
lead
to
them
be a
out like
sacrificial.
0.5 or a kilometre till the hill, and then they can just go all out on the hill. Because the hill only lasts like a minute.
Maybe for you, Tom.
Sounds good, Tom. Sounds good. Who's going for the first sprint? Lap 1.
Leandra, off the Wi-Fi, please. Gabriel, off the Wi-Fi, please. Thank you.
Did you end up getting dropped from the main group? I wouldn't say all is lost because the pace.
Okay, well, we've had quite a lot of technical difficulties this evening, but we have started just in time to be able to see the rollout, and at the moment we are watching Neil. So I do apologise for this, and I hope that some of you are able to see what I can see, which is the beginning of the race, and we can see the start of the Libby Hill track. I'll give you some inside information on this in a minute, but for the moment I just want to set myself in to be able to see what's happening. We're going to roll out onto a flat course. They're doing about 200 metres start, and you can see just up there at the top you can see the banner which they'll be going through, and then they will be starting a series of flat laps round what's called the Fan Flats course, which is almost pancake flat, and then they're going to end off with a climb towards the end. So let's just drop into the stream to see how much our riders are enjoying themselves at the moment, see what conversation we can have. And as expected, we can hear an awful lot of heavy breathing, showing that our riders are doing what they should be. Of course, they are breathing hard and trying to settle in. This is a sprinters race, so we are going to be trying our hardest to keep our team as close together as possible, so that we can bring out our faster sprinters in order to be able to get some points as they go across the line. Let's just watch this and listen in to our riders on Discord.
It's really hard to stay up the front while all the splits happen back.
So again, I apologise. We have quite a lot of technical difficulties. Having some trouble controlling my screens at the moment. This is not as professional as I would want it to be, but we will get there. And here we go. We're back onto the back into the race. And so we can see here that as we are about 2 kilometres into the race, we have Niels, who is going to be one of our prime sprinters, up there right at the front of the race, trying not to take the wins, he says, as he can see Niels and his rather fancy long haircut, representing the fact that Niels has been locked down in Holland, in the Netherlands, for some time. He's allowed his hair to grow both in real life and on his avatar as well. He's settling back now into 27th position. Let's have a look round on the course and see whether we can see any of our other riders. There's Rob Tomlinson. So Rob Tomlinson is another one of our big, strong riders. He's an ex-Ironman, in fact, hopefully a future Ironman rider. And so he'll be hoping to figure nicely in the sprint as well. And so just while they're riding away, getting ready for that first race, let me introduce you to the team. So you can see very clearly on the screen, we've got 6 riders riding for us tonight. We've got Jerome Bakker, who is going to be, we hope, competing the sprints in the 2nd and the 4th lap. And on the right hand side we've got Niels at the top, and we have Richard at the bottom, on the bottom left, and they're going to be our 2 prime sprinters who we're hoping will compete for points across the line in laps 1, 3 and 5. Jerome and Rob Tomlinson will be also competing for sprint points in laps 2 and 4. And that's going to leave Joffrey, who's one of our all-rounders. He's just going to be going for the GC, the general classification at the end. That leaves Joffrey and Rob Gasson. Rob Gasson has that haunted look. One of our followers on Facebook suggested that he was still haunted by the thought of having had to ride up the Volcano KOM 3 times last week. Rob Gasson is going to play into the hands of his climbing skills this week, so we're hoping that he will come to the front on the climb at the end. Let's go back and have a look at the sprint and see how they're getting ready for this.
Sorry.
So in fact, they are coming into the sprint at the moment. Let's have a look and see what we've got coming through there. I was watching the wrong rider there, not making a very good fist of it at the moment, but we're going to get there. Let's go back and have a look at Niels. So it looked as though Niels wasn't able to compete in that sprint. I wonder what we can do if we search now for Richard and see how Richard Johnson did. Just gonna drop into the DS. We've got Tom Wilkes DSing for us this evening and ask him how he went.
Well done, Richard.
Hi guys, this is Tim just dropping in. Tom, can you let us know how we got on in that first sprint?
Can you maybe talk a bit slower because of the echo? I can't really hear you.
Okay. So this is Tim just dropping in, wanting an update, please, from Tom on how we got on in that first sprint live in the live stream. We really are plagued with technical difficulties this evening. Let me try that again. Tom, this is Tim. Can you give us an update? On how we did in the sprint?
How we doing here?
Can you give us an update on how we did in the sprint, please, Tom?
We have Jerome, Rob Gasson, Richard, and I don't know who else in this group.
Okay. Did any of them place in the sprint?
I can't see who got the sprint. But I think that Rob Gasson did quite well.
Okay.
Richard.
So, let's drop in on Rob Gasson and see how Rob is doing so far in this race. Let's call him up. One of the wonders of being able to be on Zwift is that we can just do a little fan view, and we are now going to switch to Rob to see where he's at, and he's lying in 27th position. Looking good there, Rob.
We had 4 Sotonias in the front group. Niels, Richard, Rob Gasson, and keep on forgetting. Gasson, Jerome, Richard, and Niels in the front group.
Okay, so that's very encouraging. We're coming up to 7.5 kilometres. which means that it won't be so long until we move on to the next sprint. Let me see whether or not I can show you now just an image of what the race is looking like. So you can see here a profile of the race. You can see that the fan flats bit, the bit that we're doing at the moment, is completely pancake flat. The sprint that they're contesting is just up there at the top left hand edge of this profile, so you'll see them going round a hairpin left hand side, and then it's about 220 metres to the sprint. So let's go back to the race and see how they are doing with that at the moment. So we're at 8.2 kilometres, and we know that the next sprint is going to be at 9.1. So we're going to stick with Rob Gasson, who I think is really nicely placed here. Let's see what Rob can do as we're coming up to this next second sprint. Remember, there's points for the top 10 as they go first, top 10 across the line, and also points for the fastest through that sprint. You don't necessarily have to be right at the front, but let's see how they can do. Here we go.
So you do this route that you've just completed, I think it's 5 times, and then you turn off and go up Libby Hill, which is a cobbled climb.
So here we have Rob, he's just going to come up. And
I'm still gassed from the first lap.
A little bit of an echo there. He's going to be working his way around this left-hand hairpin before we move into the sprint. So here we go, they're just working their way around. Rob's sitting in 26th position. He's going to be able to move up. It's going to be a tricky effort for him to work his way through to get across the line. This is a real blast of a sprint, and it's going to be requiring a lot of watts to get there. He's putting out 380 watts, which is 5 watts per kilo, and he's holding his position really nicely there. But you can see that Rob, as we said earlier on, Rob is not one of our main sprinters. He is instead a climber and an endurance rider, and we weren't necessarily expecting him to do well there, but to be placing in that top 25 is a none too shabby result. Good work there, Rob. Let's settle in now and find one of our other riders and watch Richard Johnson for a little while. Well, we will do if we can find him. And here we go. So we're now jumping across to see Richard. Richard is a new member of our team. He's ridden with us for the last couple of races, and he's been a very welcome addition to our squad. He's holding on here in 30th position, but it does look a little bit as though a group has broken away, and that could be significant if he can stay in that front group, because that might well make it easier, because they might contest the sprints in a slightly different way coming in the future. So that's great work there from Richard. And let's have a look and see who else there is within the group. And if we go and if we have a look at Jerome now, we can see that Richard and Jerome are in that group together. Fantastic piece of work there. If you look down on that aerial view, you can clearly see the Sotonia riders. It looks to me as though we've got 3 riders in there. So we've got Jerome at the front. We will have Richard in there somewhere else. And at the moment I can't see who that third Sotonia rider would be, but we might be able to spot that in a little while. Look at Jerome up there in 2nd place, doing yourself real justice there, Jerome. And we know that the next sprint point is going to be coming up at 14.3. So can Jerome hold on into this position? A little time to settle in here. Let's see what Jerome can do. We'll drop in and just listen to the audio stream from then for a
Hold
while.
on, Niels.
40 to 60.
Back onto the
50.
front group.
Hanging on. I'm afraid.
He's just hanging on, Josh.
Steady out front, you know. I know what I need to do. I just
Down, is it?
acceleration of the sprint was too much for me.
So we've got some great strategy here from Jerome, just beginning to fall back a little bit, which is fine. He doesn't need to be up at the front at the moment. Sitting there in 19th, 20th position. And I saw Niels Langhout's name come up. So we looks pretty good going here now. So looks as though we've got at least 2 riders up here in the front group. And we know that the next sprint point is going to be coming up at 14.3 kilometres. So we've got 2 kilometres left to go. Let's stay with Jerome Bakker. Hi guys, this is Tim dropping in.
That was absolutely brutal.
Brutal start, but look at this. I can see 3 Sotonia riders up there in that front group that's broken away. Great work, guys. 1.5 kilometres to the...
Listening, Tom?
Yeah.
Me and Joffrey are in a group about 43 to 58.
Yes, I can see you.
Yeah.
I'm watching you at the moment.
What about anybody else? How's the rest of the team?
In the front group.
So I've got to say I'm feeling very proud of my team right now. They're doing a much better job at riding than I've done so far at streaming. We've got half of the team up there in that front group. A beautiful aerial view. Let's see what they can do together. They have now 1.5 kilometres to the next sprint point. I hope you're feeling as excited as I am. What can they do as they work their way through there? Jerome taking some wind at the front, but clearly feeling confident. What can he do on this sprint?
Really half.
Come on then, Jerome. We're streaming you. Do it for the crowds. Nicely positioned, Jerome.
How many viewers we've got, Tim?
Best if I don't depress you by telling you the numbers. I'm sure they'll come flooding in later on. We have don't want to disrespect my viewers. We have 3 viewers at the moment, and I'm sure they're all sitting there with their hearts beating away, wondering whether or not we can place somebody in that top 10 in 600 metres. Come on then, Jerome. Come on, Niels. Come on, Rob. Do it for the crowds.
Sprint is about to go for the 3rd time.
Here we go. Pace beginning to hot up here. Jerome nicely lined out. We clearly have found the man for this moment. So they go around a left-hand bend. The sprint doesn't start until they're actually round the corner of this hairpin.
I'm not going to be of any use in a sprint.
If you look up on the top right, you can see the profile. Jerome sitting there in 13th. Okay, this is pretty hot pace. 400 watts being put out, and that's not enough to hold in position. There goes the sprint point, that little green splash on the bottom. 50 kilometres an hour, 600 watts. Jerome coming forward there, holding his place really nicely up into 14th. Come on, Jerome. Come on, let's get some points here. 11th. 14th, 10th. He's going to place for us. Yes, look at that. Very difficult to know whether he got into the places there as he went under the banner. That was a great sprint, Jerome. Great sprint. Oops. Okay, and now we're going to switch to look at Geoffrey Carlier. Joffrey is sitting here in what looks as though it's the second group. You can see how large the gap is that's split between these groups. So he's sitting there halfway down the field in 40th place, but they haven't yet gone through the banner. Just shows the pace that is being set up there at the front. Putting out 270 watts. Somebody's going off the front. Not entirely clear why they would be doing that. And Joffrey is sitting there. You can see just behind, you can see Rob Tomlinson as well, just a few places back. So now we're watching Rob Tomlinson as well. So if we go back to Jerome, Jerome, I keep calling him Jerome, I should be calling him Joffrey. Go back to Joffrey. Joffrey has been a real trooper for us in the ride. He's been really willing to ride for us whenever he wants. We like to think of Joffrey as the man with the quality internet stream at home. He leaves signs out for everybody at home, disallowing them from using the internet and even the microwave in case that would get in the way of his internet signal at home. And let's hope that tonight everybody has got cold dinners and pot noodles so that they won't be interfering with Jerome's progress through the race. Called him Jerome again. So we're moving now back up the field. We're having a look at Rob Gasson, who's sitting there nicely in this front group. Now, if we have a think about the next sprint, we know the next sprint is going to be coming up at 19.4 kilometres. Don't expect necessarily Rob to compete in this sprint, but the fact that he's up there is looking very positive for the Libby Hill KOM, which will come towards the end of the race. So, the end of the race will be at 33 kilometres. Let's just show you how this works. You can see the main events on here. We're coming up to sprint 4 in a little while at 19 kilometres. Each of the riders obviously will have a copy of this feature planner, we call it, telling them when and where what to do. So this is a pretty straightforward race to DS because there's just sprints. A little bit of a descent at 30k or just under 30k. And then they move on to another element of the course, where they will do a 600 metre climb at 32 kilometres. It's not the steepest of climbs. In a sense, this is just a VO2 effort. Don't necessarily have to be a massive light climber, but you still have to be powerful and able to put out a decent amount of power to get up that 600 kilometres to the finish, which will be at 33 kilometres. Let's drop in and have a listen to the suffering or the joy, perhaps, of our team.
Yeah, I'm just trying to stick with the group.
Yeah, it's not painful, is it? Nobody's going silly now.
It's for me.
Is it? Sorry.
It's alright. I'm so on the power.
Wilson, Jerome, and another Sotonia in front.
So that voice you're hearing every now and then is Tom Wilkes. He is our 10-year-old DS, our 10-year-old Director Sportif. Tom has been an absolute trooper for us. If you were tuned in to us a few weeks ago, you probably will have heard Tom win the race. He's the only race winner so far that we've had from our team, and it was a fantastic climb up the Innsbruck KOM. Really superb piece of climbing that he did there. He's not racing this race because this is a flat one, and so this is something that does really rely upon raw power, raw watts, and obviously as a 10-year-old he hasn't yet fully developed that, but he's developed a lot of sense and a lot of maturity, so it's great to have him contributing, doing the DS job, which essentially means he's letting the team know where they're placed and what they need to do at different points. So, we've dropped in just now to have a look at Niels. I told you earlier on that Niels is a Dutch rider. He's riding from he's come this is one of the wonders of Zwift. Many of us are in the south of England, the Southampton sort of Winchester area, mainly Southampton. Niels is riding in Holland. He's an ex-Sotonia rider as well. He's a tall guy. You can probably see from the pictures that we've got. In fact, I just need to make sure that you can see a moving screen on that. So let's go back to this just so you can see all of that. Niels is a tall guy, and at 6'6", he's going to create an awful lot of draft. If you were feeling tired in any groups, he would be the guy to be sitting behind. That means he has to carry around an awful lot of weight, but he comes with an awful lot of power as well, which means that he's done well in Ironmans in the past and a bit of a time trialer. I say he's got a lot of power and he has to carry some weight with that, but he does that pretty effectively. This is a guy with a personal best on Dutch Mountain. Obviously that's Alpe d'Huez of 54 minutes, which is a time which is faster than mine, and I like to think of myself as a climber. Niels has got something in common with some of our other riders as well. He's an ex-swimmer. And later on I'll bring you in so we can see one of our other ex-swimmers in their race. But for the moment, let's just drop in and listen in to see what our riders are talking about.
Points in the sprint.
And so in fact they are coming up into this sprint just now. Again, I've managed to miss that sprint. Looks as though Niels is there in the third group, just going through the line now, which means there might be some value in us moving to one of our other sprinters and just seeing how Richard Johnson is doing. Richard here is sitting in 26th position, putting out 200 watts, which means he's just beginning to recover at the end of that sprint effort. So they've now been through 3 of the sprint points, and is it 3 or is it 4? Very difficult to keep track of that. Actually, it's 4. They've been through 19.4, so they've just got one more sprint effort to do, and then they will be on to the climb. I think I said earlier on there were 6 laps of the flat. I got that wrong. There's only going to be 5, and I'm sure our riders will be pleased to know that. Let's drop in and listen to anything that's being said by our groups here. So we're watching Richard Johnson.
We'll pull them back, Josh.
Yeah, I need to go back.
Nobody's got away from this group.
No, I don't think so. I don't care.
So that voice you can hear there is Rob Tomlinson. Rob Tomlinson keeping in touch with Geoffrey Carlier, who's there riding alongside him in that group. So Rob is a local rider. He's another Ironman guy who I spoke about earlier. This is a man who's cycled since he was 13. That's going to be 36 years. He's been a triathlete for 34 of those years. In fact, he's competed in European Junior Triathlon Championships. This is a guy with a proper solid pedigree. He's hoping to spend some time in the next coming years training for a 24-hour marathon. 24-hour time trial. See how far he can go with that. So this short 45-minute effort around Richmond should be no problem at all for him. Let's listen in and see how Rob Tomlinson is doing.
4, Tom. I think it's 4.
Yeah, this is this is lap 4 for the front group.
This will be our final
Yeah.
sprint.
Yeah, then you'll be turning off.
Switching now to watch Rob Gasson, and you can see from the picture in the front, so Rob is sitting now in the second group on the road, I think. Looks as though a very small group of riders has gone off the front there, and that could be a problem in terms of any future sprint points for this group, but it also means that it might be easier for him to focus on fastest through segment on the climbing section. Looking at these positions, actually, I suspect that Rob. It's very unclear to me as to whether or not Rob is in the second group on the road. I think it really does look as though he very probably is, sitting here in 20th place. Rob also a committed rider in our team. So Rob is a primary school teacher who has been cycling for about 10 years. He's a good friend of Will Weinberg, who's riding with Sotonia A team probably this evening. And new to Zwift, although he credits Zwift as having had a significant impact on his racing prowess. So let's watch Rob, and maybe we can listen to see what the group are currently talking about as they are getting closer to their final sprint, which will come at 24.6 kilometres. So we're going to stick with Rob for the moment and watch this last kilometre as he closes in on that sprint point. Rob Gasson, we're watching you, so I'm expecting a quality stand up and wave to the camera as you go through the sprint point in first place, please.
With a smile.
So just 800 metres left. You'll be familiar with how this works up there. You can see up in the little picture on the top right of the screen, you can see the green banner. But remember, they're not going to go through that green banner going up the track as they're going at the moment. They're going to come back down after taking that left-hand hairpin. So they've still got 600 metres. Oops, we've swapped to somebody. I keep trying to find the other riders in our team. So we're going to go now, and we're going to go back to Rob just to watch him as he goes across this.
Rob Gasson, Jerome, and
Richard.
yes, Richard, are about to do the sprint for the last time.
Okay. Are they in the front group?
Yes.
Oh, good work. Come on, Rob, do it for the camera.
She got second in that sprint.
Who got second in that sprint?
Richard.
Richard.
Well done.
Fantastic.
Well done.
Richard, that's
It was
brilliant.
third or
Second
second.
time on the segment, at least. Was he
Well
second
then
across the line?
Well done. Just well then done. Way to go.
So it's a shame we didn't capture that one on camera. That would have been a fantastic thing to have done. We were trying to find Richard earlier on. We were clearly following the wrong person in the group. Richard, we apologise to you, but of course we've caught on camera. That is a fantastic set of points you've got there. And now we have a really interesting position. This is the last time they've been through that sprint. And now they're going to be girding their loins, ready for probably a 90-second climb up the KOM, the King of the Mountain. That's going to come at 33 kilometres. We've got three riders really nicely placed in the front of the group. So we've got Richard Johnson, we've got Rob Gasson, and we have a third rider. I'm going to drop in a minute and ask our DS to let us know who the third rider is in the front of that group. Tom, can you tell us who's the third rider? We've got Rob, we've got Richard. Who's the third rider in the front of that group?
Jerome.
Jerome. Great work, guys. Great work.
Then we have Niels in the small group behind. And then in about a group of 15 is Joffrey and Rob Tomlinson.
Okay, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
we're in a group 37. No, 36 to about 55.
Okay.
That's how big the second group is. Chunky.
So now we're going to switch so that we can see the King of the Mountain climb that they're going to be going up. So this is Libby Hill. This is a climb which is fairly steady for the first part of the climb. It's not the steepest climb they will ever have seen. It's going to be going up at about 6%. But effectively what's going to happen is they're going to take a couple of right-hand turns. Obviously they go up, they take a right and then take a left, and after the on the first right it gets significantly steeper, and they come up onto some cobbles, and that's where the riders are really going to start laying the power down. They can probably take it fairly steady at the start of the climb. You can see it at 6%, but it's going to be on those right-hand bends that they're really going to start putting the effort down for about the last 300 metres. We hope very much that some of our front group can recover enough in order to be able to seriously trouble the scorers at the front of there. Let's go back. We'll carry on watching Rob for a brief moment, but let's check in on Jerome and see how Jerome is getting on up there.
I guess some people, their tactic was to sprint, and then that's it, their job is done. Just finish the race. Yeah, just get to the last hill now, Joe. Are we done all the sprints?
Okay, lead group, you've done 4 laps. Now you're turning off and you're coming up to a sprint. There is no points for this sprint, so save your energy. Some people will probably go just because they don't know the rules.
That's right.
And there you have the real sense of us having a DS who knows what's going on. We're hoping very much that many of the riders in this group will waste their energy by competing for a sprint where there are no sprint points. There will be something on the ground, this green dashed line, that may confuse some of them into thinking there is a sprint. You can see it just in the back there. But there are no points for this, and so our riders will be taking it steady because of the wisdom that they've got there from their DS. Thanks for that, Tom.
Keep pushing.
Except one person's kind of going for it.
How far ahead is Nielsen's group, Tom?
121. 125.
Pulling away.
Yeah.
Good. That's all right. I'm doing my best to hold them back. Joffrey keeps going to the front, though.
Trying to keep up, mate.
Outrageous.
I'm not. The thing is, if I stay at the back, I'm going to get dropped. It's actually harder to walk from the back.
So we're going to stick with this front group and see what they've got. Remember that the race is going to finish at 33 kilometres, 33.1. So there'll be some nervous hearts in there. There'll be some tired legs wondering exactly how much they're going to have left for the climb towards the end. Let's see. You can see a little bit of them as they crest over. There's some mean looking faces, knowing they've got roughly 3 kilometres left, but that's going to be about 3 kilometres really until the KOM, and then they've got 600 metres as they go up that climb. What have they got left in them? Let's have a listen and see how hard they're breathing.
Libby Hill, there's a slight incline, so make sure you don't get dropped there.
Super tuck on this downhill, front group.
If you are above 57k, you can tuck in. You can stop pedaling. Just make sure you've got the right speed.
So many of you will be familiar with Zwift, but if you're not, one of the wonderful things about this is that when you're going downhill at a gradient of more than 3% downwards, if you're doing at least 57k, you can stop pedalling and you get into what's called a super tuck, which means you carry speed really nicely downhill. You can see a few riders there on the screen who aren't pedalling. They're saving energy, and you can see some who are pedalling. They're wasting it because they don't need to. But the gradient has now moved to 0%, and so there's a risk in doing that, because if you're not pedalling when it moves to 0%, then you come out of super tuck and you lose some places. Looks as though our riders know full well what's going on here though. Jerome Backer, who we're watching here, is doing really nicely there. Up at the pointy end, we have roughly 2.5 kilometres left to go in this race, and we've got 3 Sotonia riders up there at the front of this group. This is big. Let's hope we can repeat the glory of one of our last live stream races when Tom Wilkes was able to win. Which of these three riders at the front is your money on? Is it on Rob Gasson, our teacher? Is it on Jerome Backer, our ex-international swimmer? Or is it on Richard Johnson, our accountant? That's the only thing I know about him, because one of the wonderful things about Zwift is that you meet people who you've never met before. Richard has been a new member of the team, has really done well. And let's see what he can do now. Coming up onto a slight incline.
Be knackered on the climb.
We all are.
I think the front group's just gone past the small up.
Yeah.
Super top, Joe.
I stopped pedaling. I'm tucking in. Yeah. Tucking in, no pedaling. It's good recovery, mate. Good recovery.
Go for about 30 seconds. I need to switch headphones because my mum's...
You don't need to pedal, guys. For about 57. I'm not pedaling. Right, that's it. Start again.
So we did Richard the injustice earlier on of failing to watch him as he went through and scored some points. So we're going to keep the camera on Richard for the final 2,000 metres. 2,000 metres? Maybe it's even 2 kilometres. And we'll look at this run in, see what he's doing. He's sitting there in 20th place, just going up the outside there, making sure he's really neatly positioned to see what he can do on this final climb. Richard Johnson, this time we have the camera on you. We are going to make sure we catch your moment of glory. You have 1.2 kilometres left, I believe, in order to show what you can do. The finish is at 33.1. Richard Johnson, do it for the team.
Come on, Richard.
So it's a fairly small group there. You can see up here in the front. It says that Richard's line 26th. He's obviously sitting towards the middle or towards the back of that group. But my hunch is that when he chooses to open it up, he's going to be sitting pretty very clear towards the front of the group. We know that it's really important not to go too early. What has he got? Here comes a little bit of the gradient. You see it 1 or 2%. There was a little flash of 6% earlier on. Important not to show your hand too soon. 500 metres left.
Sit in the draft, Richard.
.300 metres left.
3, 2, 1. You
There's
started
the
the
sprint.
climb.
So we can see him putting out 400 watts, which is 5.5 watts per kilo. That is no mean amount of power that he's creating just there. Going up to 450 watts. Is he going to be able to hold that? He's moving up the field into 20th position, getting towards the pointy end. It's going to be very important he doesn't go too soon. This guy knows this course. He knows there's going to be a right-hand bend coming up in just a minute, and he knows he's going to move on to the cobbles, and that's where the real power is going to get deployed. He's sitting there in 9th position, which is a perfect position. That's really nicely played there, Richard. Great positioning there, Richard. Here we go. Come on then.
Just strung out of the front.
Give it what you've got, Rich. Richard there in 10th, 12th position. He's really pushing out 650 watts. Yes, he's going up into 7th. This is great. He's really overtaking this. Is he going to come through for that win? He's coming all the way through. Come on, Richard. Push, push, push. He's coming up now. He's into 2nd position. It's very unclear what the positions are. He's really producing some power here. I think this guy is going to give us some... He's come through into 2nd place. What a fine finish. What a fine finish from Richard Johnson. We are proud of you, my friend. We are proud of you.
Well done.
2nd place, Richard.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Well done, mate.
Fantastic.
That's amazing.
Fantastic. I'm so pleased for you, Richard. What a gloriously timed sprint.
Niels, you're about to start the climb. don't go yet. Don't start attacking yet. If anyone starts to go, get on their wheel. But
I don't think I've
go
got much of a
alone.
choice.
Okay, now we're back to watching Joffrey Carlier. Joffrey Carlier is coming in to this bit. This is roughly where Richard really just began to pick up the pace so that he would be able to position so fantastically. Let's see how Joffrey is going to play this. There are points valuable for each of the team members all the way down to 60th place. So Joffrey is going to be giving this what he's got in order to make sure that he does himself and that he does his team proud. Let's drop in on Joffrey as he goes. Joffrey Carlier, we are watching you. Let's hold that position. Let's do what you can up that final climb. Don't let Rob Tomlinson just behind you. Don't let him get you. We'll never hear the end of it.
Come on, guys, push.
So we have Joffrey Carlier and Rob Tomlinson. Which of these two is going to be showing the pride?
Neil, start attacking. Go, Niels.
You want video of this, George? You've got it.
Come on, dig deep.
Well done, Niels.
Rob Tomlinson coming all the way through. He's overtaken Joffrey. You can see Rob, 2 riders up. We can just see the back here of Joffrey. Is Joffrey going to get? Is he going to be able to come back onto Rob? It is. Rob has got a 2-second gap on him. Joffrey looks as though that gap is just beginning to go away. Let's go up and see Rob, because Rob is really giving it some welly. Rob is giving it everything that he can do as he goes through. He is holding 4 watts per kilo, which is pretty impressive at the end of a 45-minute effort.
Someone behind you, Rob. Come on.
Yeah, come on, Rob. Hold up. Do not let that... Oh, he's got a flat cap. Never let somebody in a flat cap beat you. Come on. Fantastic finish. Fantastic finish.
Well done.
Superb riding there. Superb riding. And that is our team done on this race. You can probably see the riders just coming in at the end. We've moved now, so we are watching a range of other people. This is going to go back to me. I've had a glorious armchair ride. Obviously I have to be in Zwiftland in order to be able to watch this film, but basically I've spent 45 minutes sitting on my saddle enjoying the effort of the riders around me. Now, if you've been watching this and you've been thinking that you have been missing out, well, you clearly have been missing out. So if you want to come and join us in Sotonia, either in the club in general or on any of the Zwift rides, you would be more than welcome. Just keep an eye on the Facebook feed for Sotonia, and soon on there we'll be inviting anybody who wants to sign up for next season to come and join us. You've been watching a race in B category, so this is for people who are producing, I believe, between 3.2 watts and 4.0 watts per kilograms. So these guys are no mean riders. They've been riding for quite some time. They're not the best of the best. We've got another team of A-Cat riders who are producing more than 4 watts per kilos for an hour. And there are other riders around who are C-Cat riders and D-Cat riders. And in fact, we ought to give a real mention here to Joffrey Carlier, who is a C-Cat rider, holding his own there in a B-Cat race, which is a pretty extraordinary achievement due to the nous, the skill, the sassy riding that he's shown. So we're looking for riders to join us in any of the teams, and keep an eye out for this link. We have one more race next time. That's going to be a team time trial. I don't think we will be live streaming that, but we look forward to seeing you next time sometime soon. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again.